billionaires with grandiose visions of turning the government itself into a corporation run by a monarch CEO, right? They actually say this openly. They're out there in the press telling us they want to intentionally tank the economy so that wages crash, so that it becomes easier to exploit workers. The mega corporations that have kissed Trump's ring are responsible for the crisis in our communities right now. And as Trump attacks immigrants, workers, college students, Medicaid recipients, Palestinian rights organizers, seniors, and working class people all across the country, they're responsible for this. And so on May Day, we want to force them to confront the impact and consequences of this crisis that they engineered. So how do we do that? By using May Day actions as an opportunity to expose the billionaires and mega corporations looking to profit from the erosion of our rights, and by planning actions that bring the crisis directly to them. Right? Corporations like McDonald's, Goya Foods, and Target should know that they can't thrive while our communities are bleeding. We need to think about the corporations driving and enabling the authoritarian agenda in each of our cities and take the fight directly to them on May 1st. There'll be no business as usual for them while our communities are on fire. Before we go into speakers, I want to share some resources. So first, please visit our website, maydaystrong.org. You can register your actions there. As I mentioned earlier, we're at well over 120 actions already listed on the website. If you have actions already planned, please drop once. Is the chat working yet or no? Okay, we'll come back to that. I was going to suggest folks drop, once the chat's working, folks can drop actions they plan and targets into the chat. That would be great. We also have an action toolkit that's available on the maydaystrong.org website. It has great tools and resources to help you get your actions off the ground. And just got the update. We now have 200 events registered in 42 states, 155 cities. That means we've like almost doubled since just yesterday, which is really, really amazing. And finally, please join us for our next webinar next week on Wednesday, April 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can register for that at the link on the slide that's up, which is bit.ly/Mayday23 webinar. 23 because of April 23rd. No. So anyway, we now have over 1,300 people on, which is really great. We're going to now start hearing from speakers about their plans for May Day and why their organizations are throwing down. So first, we're going to hear from a group of leaders in the K-12 education space. So we have Stacey Davis Gates, the president of the Chicago Teachers Union, Alejandra Lopez, president of the San Antonio Alliance of Teachers and Support Personnel, Ingrid Walker-Henry, president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association, and Christine Newman-Ortiz, executive director of Voces de la Frontera in Wisconsin.
Hey, you want me to go now?
Yeah, go for it, Stacey.
Hey, thank you, Saka. You said that there's like, what, 2,000 people on this call? Jesus.
Yeah.
You said 155 cities, 52 states. That is pretty amazing. And that has grown exponentially since you all were in Chicago over at our headquarters. So thank you for having me. Look, May 1st is about multiple movements figuring out how to coalesce on protecting everyone who is not a wealthy, white, male, heterosexual landowner. And because of that, a lot of us out here that could be in coalition, but we're going to reactivate May Day marches to extend, to fortify what we need to do for our undocumented and immigrant community, to reaffirm our commitment to workers' rights at Amazon, at Starbucks, but also to make sure that everyone knows that this connection that we have as workers, as people, as LGBTQIA plus people, as Black people, we're going to have to erect a set of protests. And this May Day is not on a weekend. So it being not on a weekend basically means that we are going to be disruptive. We're going to be disruptive in a way where it forces people to see the coalition that is in formation. It forces people to deal with the impact of a country that is moving into fascism with unchecked virtually. So this set of protests means that we're going to make some real demands about our civil rights. We're going to make some real demands about our humanity. We're going to make some demands about the type of world we want to live in. Won't be about who we're against. It'll be about what we want. So we want our public institutions to be fully funded. We want human beings to be respected within their humanity. We want people to stop being disappeared. And we want workers and community. We want all of us to like be in the same coalition. So in summary, we're going to march to say that we are going for workers now, billionaires never. Look, the billionaires have an agenda. It's called oligarchy for them and none for us. So join us. Go to maydaystrong.org, MADAY strong, STRONG.org. Sign up. This is Civics in Action. In Chicago, teachers will be marching with our students, with our families. This isn't about just defending who we are. This is about defending the infrastructure of a country that is supposed to be welcoming for us. And it is also about creating the space where we get to say who we need, what we need, why we need it, and we get to do it together. So I appreciate everyone being on this call and the fantastic work that has been done since we last met in Chicago.
Thank you, Stacey. It's just really great, the leadership that CTU has shown in sort of helping bring this together. Next, I'll pass it to Alejandra Lopez from the San Antonio Alliance of Teachers and Support Personnel.
Thanks, everyone. Really powerful to be here with y'all tonight. I'm calling from San Antonio, Texas, where just yesterday a voucher bill that will continue to defund our public education system passed through our state legislature. So we are really excited to come together in this critical moment. May Day in San Antonio has not been a mass action before. May Day has historically been maybe 20, 30 leftists coming together in a park, right? It has not been a mass movement of workers and community coming together. And so really we are charting a course here for the first time. We are starting logistically simple, a straightforward rally in front of a federal building, partially because we're in the middle of municipal elections, and it's also in the middle of Fiesta, which is kind of like Mardi Gras for San Antonio. So we want to start just as straightforward as possible. We are incredibly excited to have over 20 unions and community organizations, which is, I think, the highest number of co-sponsors we've seen for an event here in San Antonio. We have labor unions from across the spectrum, but we also have our Immigrant Rights Coalition, SA Stands, Texas Organizing Project, which does amazing community organizing, all coming together to speak on critical issues. We really want to frame this around billionaires, around who are our class enemies. And we're also thinking through political education because many people don't know the history of May Day here in San Antonio. And we want to use this as an opportunity to share its incredible power and history. So for us, this first year is really a structure test. We're using it to establish our baseline. We think the most critical piece of this will be the after action debrief because we want to see who turned out, right? You know, what locals were able to bring big numbers, what community organizations were able to bring big numbers, and ultimately, how can we continue to organize together to ensure that May Day 2026 is bigger and bolder and more militant. So we're really excited to throw down here in San Antonio.
Yes, that's really amazing and really inspired by the work that y'all are doing down in deep in Texas. Next, Ingrid Walker-Henry, president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association.
And actually, can I pass it off to my partner, my community partner first to explain a little bit more because I dovetail in. So Christine.
So Christine Newman
Thank you
Ortiz
so much.
from Voces de la Frontera.
Thank, thank you so much. And it's such an honor to be here. And I'm just so inspired. And this helps me share this with others. So my name is Christine Newman Ortiz, founding executive director of Voces de la Frontera, based out of Wisconsin. And Voces has had a history since 2006 of really building using the power of the general strike, what we call originally Day Without Latinos, really in 2006, as we know, when that cascaded throughout the country. And then in 2016 and 2017 at the state level to successfully push back against an anti-sanctuary bill and a 287G under the Trump administration that they were trying to implement in Milwaukee County, the largest and most diverse county in the state. And it was really the fact that in our case, we did have tens of thousands of people who turned out on a day of no school, no work, no shopping, in addition to this coalition partnership. And that was the magic ingredient in being able to prevail. Now, those have been key moments. We've had big marches and then some smaller ones since then. But really, our rallying call for this year is that we have to overcome fear. There is, of course, fear in the community, but we have to overcome it. And turn out as big as we can to show the economic contributions we make and to know that we are not alone. I have shared that we have support from the teachers, we have support from the union, from the nurses and federal government employees. And that what's different this time too is that this is such a broad-based attack, and we have to make sure that we challenge this effort to try to scapegoat immigrants for all of the social inequalities that they are certainly contributing to, and to really, so this moment is important. And it's like I've equated it as a hurricane that's coming. If you know it's coming, you got to prepare. And the kind of dictatorship that they want to implement through all of the actions that they have initiated, they've been very clear they're not going to stop with immigrants, that we have to get ahead of this situation and we have to come out strong. And I'm talking tens of thousands. And that may look different in different places. And that's it's all going to add up. And then I just have a few minutes, but I'd like to say that maybe one of the few things that we have been emphasizing is addressing those concerns around fear. So I think just making sure that people know, you do have a right to protest, and that these events are organized safely, and that just the urgency of the moment, and that people know what their rights are, that they have those cards where to go, that there's marshals. And that, it's not like people are going to know, oh, this person's undocumented, this person's not, taking into account safety, transportation. We are having immigration lawyers and legal observers available. So I think, sending that message that we have to stand together now, and an immigrant rights movement has to be led by immigrants. But that there are all of these precautions and a real commitment to stand with anyone in any event of any kind of retaliation. But that I think it's important to highlight that. I don't want to take more time. Thank you, Ingrid, if you want to go next.
Okay, thank you, Christine. And I just want to highlight the fact that Voces has been doing the May Day March, I believe it's 19 years at this point. And it's so special right now in this moment. And it's special every year, but as people are feeling depressed, or they're wondering what can we do, or how can we show strength together, in Milwaukee we have a day, and this day is a way for people to get involved in one way or another. So there are a multitude of ways that we have for our members to be involved in May Day. So we have members who do call out work and they attend the march, but we also have an arm of Voces de la Frontera called Youth Empowered in the Struggle. And so we have members who are the advisors for these young students, and they support students in organizing and standing up for themselves. So before this, the larger May Day March happens, our YES students are going to show up at the MTEA office. They're going to hold a rally, and they have a list of demands because, once again, their active members of the community, and they should have demands. And I just want to speak on some of them because they are important. And one of their first demands is to protect the Student Bill of Rights, something that they worked on, and their right to free speech and their right to organize within the district, and make sure that the district actually communicates that to students for them. So if they walk out on an issue, they're not going to be punished. Defending their rights to speak out on political issues, and currently one of those is Palestine. Keeping ICE and police out of the classrooms. And something that I think a lot of students can speak to, which is school lunch justice. So that's one way that we have of people getting involved in Milwaukee. There's also this great art bill that VOSIS has every single year, and it amplifies the message. So people get together in the community. Does not matter your skill level, if you paint or if you put together the poster boards and all of that, you have something to do, but you're working to create that message. And like I said, right now, it is definitely a place of joy in bringing us together around a message. And for our members who are not calling out of work, they have been called on to host school walk-ins. And what that is the members before school will have information. They'll talk to the community about the May Day demands. And when the bell rings, they walk in with the students after making sure that the community understands this is what's happening today. Here is what we're working towards. So just to reiterate, we know it's important to get the community involved. And it's just so important to show we're in this fight together. And as educators, it is just something that we know we have to do to make sure that our students are being heard and part of this fight.
Thank you. I mean, really, like Ingrid, Christine, like just, I think really hit home, like how much like we need like community labor solidarity and partnership in this moment to really rise to this challenge. And it's really great to sort of hear about how that's playing out in Milwaukee and has over the past, past many years. Thank you so much to our education leaders, Stacy, Alejandra, Ingrid, and Christine. Next, we're going to have a group of higher education leaders. Liz Perlman, the Executive Director of AFSCME, Local 3299, representing blue-collar workers in the University of California system, and Todd Wolfson, President of the American Association of University Professors. So we'll just take a second for them to come over here. And Liz, you can start us off.
All right, can you hear me? All right, hi everybody, my name's Liz Perlman and I'm ready to shut it down across the country. Are you with me? People, I think Stacy said it best, like we are coming together across every single sector. And we can just say that it's just this time that they attacked us, but they've been attacking us, okay? And that's exactly how our members feel. We have immigrant workers, women, Black, brown, from all around the globe. And every one of our members is sick and fucking tired of getting treated like dirt. Okay, and that is why 100% they are striking. All of our members are going on strike on May Day, May 1st. They're going to be joining their siblings in another union, up DCWA. We're going to be shutting down the entire University of California system because they cannot do their business without us, okay? And what does it mean to do their business? Their business, whether it's at higher education institutions in California or across the country, is making money, right? And we've just been told that, you know what, you people, your custodians, your cooks, you got to do more with less. Now you got to do the jobs of 3 people, of 4 people. We have people living in their cars today, sleeping in their cars, working at the #1 public research university in the globe. And they are being told, no, we've got a hiring freeze because instead of, maybe selling some buildings or, taking a pay cut ourselves and making millions of dollars as the CEOs and chancellors of these systems, in order to fight back Trump, you know what you have to do? You have to tighten your belt. You have to do more work with less. And it's not only is it illegal, right? Who's heard of an employer breaking the law? Shocking, right? But it is fundamentally undemocratic. It is trying to silence workers, and our people are sick and tired. They are ready to show up and show out, and we hope that you join us. We hope that you join any May Day action. We're going to be on every single UC campus and medical center on May Day. Come down, and then we're joining the May Day marches everywhere in California. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, we know that all these folks are in cahoots together. You know, just as a side note, our members' pension money, right? Like worker money right now is being used to make Blackstone, the biggest landlord in the country, even richer, right? So that they can turn around and raise rents on our members. Right? These are the same companies that Elon Musk is profiting from, that Donald Trump is profiting from. And these are the folks, this is our money. And these are not, you know, the typical billionaire bad guys. The good news, the billionaires are coming out. But these are university officials, right? These are the guys who say, oh, we all have to be on the same side now. No, we're sick and tired of that. And we've been fighting the corporate class that's running our university system. We're happy to be joining here with Todd and the other folks across the system, but university workers are sick and tired of it. We're ready to shut it down. Are you with me? All righty. Thank you.
That's just remarkable, as just having University of California workers going on strike and shutting down the entire system on May Day. It's just really, really great. Todd Wolfson from the American Association of University Professors.
Hey, y'all. It is great to be here. I'm honored to be with all these amazing organizers. I'm honored to share a stage with Liz and AFSCME 3299, which are fire. Everybody in higher ed looks to 3299 for their leadership, and it's amazing to hear they're striking on May Day. So American Association of University Professors, we represent about 50,000 workers across the country in higher ed, mostly faculty. And today we just came off a full day of higher ed actions across the country. We had 200 actions on our campus. And one of the core themes was building out a coalition beyond the coalition of higher ed with immigrant workers, with pre-K-12 workers, with healthcare workers, in order to build the real fight we need to stop this growing fascism that's taken hold in this country. And so that was a core theme today, and that is where we are at in higher ed. We know we have to fight back in higher ed because we're under withering assault, but we also know we're not the only ones under assault, and we know that we cannot win alone. And May Day is the critical next moment where we build power across sectors to start to show how we are going to fight back. And so I just want to lay out some of what we're dealing with. Each day, one of our students is getting abducted off the streets and taken into ICE detention camps, or hundreds of students' visas are being revoked, or they're cutting hundreds of millions of dollars in research that we all are dependent on for our health. It's research on cancer or Alzheimer's in our labs at University of California, at Rutgers University, and every other university across the country. And they're weaponizing anti-Semitism to shut down dissent on our campuses around Palestine. And they're doing it as prelude to shut down all dissent. That's what's on the tap. That's what they're trying to do. And they're trying to start it in higher ed because they've painted such a bad picture of higher ed, and then move it to all of this country. So May Day is a moment when we all have to come together and fight back. And so that's what AAUP is committed to do. The last thing I'll say before I jump off is say that we've figured that we have to fight on multiple levels. We have to fight in the courts, and we've been suing the Trump administration in multiple ways. We have to fight and push our elected leaders to align. We have to fight against the billionaire class that's attacking our institutions. But most importantly, we have to organize on our campuses, in our communities, and we have to build power. And that power then needs to express itself in days of action like May Day. And so we're ready to build with you all on May Day. We're going to do teach-ins. We're going to launch our own organizing events, but also join events, mass protests, and actions in our cities. And I'm thankful to be here and ready for the next steps with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. the day of action today for higher ed was just really great, just hearing the news about that everywhere, and that's been fantastic and really showing great leadership from you to like be pushing around on legal challenges to the administration and really sort of stepping up in this moment. So up next, we're going to have Sultana Hussain from the Amazon Labor Union.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sultana Hussain. I am the reporting secretary of the Amazon Labor Union, IBT Local 1. I'm very honored to be here with you all today. My main message really here, so like this May Day, a day of resistance, of worker uprising, a recommitment to our shared struggle. We're not asking, we're organizing, we're here to fight like hell. I wanted to speak from the front lines of one of the most urgent labor battles of our time. That's the fight to unionize Amazon. Our fight, it is not just about wages or benefits. It is about power. It is about having the power to transform our own lives. Amazon is a corporate empire built on surveillance, on speed up, and on sacrifice, on the backs of Black, brown, immigrant, and working class labor. It's a machine that treats workers like parts, meant to be worn down, used up, and thrown away. And it's a key pillar of capitalism's global power. So my union, in April 2022, workers at JFK 8 in Staten Island, New York, said enough. And we made history by becoming the first Amazon warehouse in the country to unionize. And that win was more than a spark. It was a warning shot to the billionaire class. Like, we are coming for what's ours and we're not stopping. And that's why this May Day, we're launching the biggest campaign that we have ever had around safety. The name of our campaign is actually We Are Not Robots. Every Amazon worker knows that the job is dangerous by design. It's unsafe equipment, it's inhumane quotas, accommodation denial, and zero accountability. And so this campaign, it's not just about safety, it's about strategy. And we're using this campaign to build deep structure across JFK 8, so department by department, shift by shift, so we can win a supermajority and apply real national pressure on Amazon. If we want to win, we need more than outrage. We need organization. We need to build lasting, rooted structures, whatever it takes to be able to move together with discipline and clarity, because when the next crisis hits, and it will, we have to be ready to not just react, but to mobilize, to take the streets, and to shut it down, to make it impossible for business to continue as usual while we are suffering, our people, our communities are suffering. And we know power doesn't concede to pressure alone. It responds to disruption, and that disruption needs to be organized. And that's our task. That's our moment. And to everyone here, whether you're a rank and file union leader, a community organizer, a student agitator, or someone just trying to figure out where to plug in, all of our struggles are very much interconnected. Immigrant justice, racial justice, gender liberation, disability justice, climate justice, justice for Palestine, housing and healthcare. None of it is possible without a powerful fighting labor movement at the center of it. We're at a very terrifying time. It's true, but it's also a time of possibility. It's a time when the cracks in the system are visible, and we have a chance to plant something stronger. We're not powerless. We're not alone. You know, there's 1,300 people on this call, on just this call. So, you know, we are not going to stop until we win. Here in ALU, we're not just fighting for a contract. We're fighting for liberation, and I'm very just grateful to be building and fighting with you all. Thank you. Solidarity, everyone.
Thanks, Sultana. Anyone else as inspired by these speakers as I am? Aren't they great? Next, we'll hear from Joe Dinkin from the Working Families Party.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Dinkin, Deputy National Director of the Working Families Party and Working Families Power, and we're one of the organizations that helped anchor the April 5th National Day of Action, the hands-off Day of Action. On that day, more than 3 million Americans showed up at 1,300 rallies in big cities and small towns in every corner of America. People gathered to say, hands off our Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security, hands off our unions, hands off our civil rights, hands off our schools and our services, hands off our immigrants and our democracy. And I am so glad to see so many organizers here on the call today. And if you are on this call today, it is because you are an organizer. But I just want to ask you to think back with me for a second. Just think back in your mind 3 months ago to Inauguration Day. And if you're like me, you felt depressed and you felt alone. You read the news and it said, where's the opposition to Trump this time? You saw many Democrats in office that seemed like they were just going to let it all happen. You saw the pundit James Carville argue in the pages of the New York Times that Democrats should play dead. You saw institutions like law firms and universities not oppose Trump, but instead bend the knee. And as Trump seeks to reshape the nation around his agenda, his vision of government of, by, and for the billionaires, which is what we mean when we say oligarchy. But we are saying no. And here's why showing up matters. It's because courage is contagious. I'm going to say that again. It's because courage is contagious. That's why I am so excited to be supporting the May Day Strong rallies, because when we show up, we are sending a message. We are sending a message to our elected officials that they need to fight back, to the media that there are more of us, and that what Trump is doing to our democracy and our economy is not okay, and that we are the leaders we've been waiting for to stop him. To our institutions, to our friends and neighbors, that there will be a world after Trump, a day after this regime is over, that we will survive this and that we have the power to stand together and stop him. Last night, we hosted a hands-off debrief mass call. Tens of thousands of people showed up, and dozens more people on the spot created new May Day events. There are now hundreds of events, many led by teachers, and that's on a school day. So I just want to say thank you to the CTU, thank you to teachers, thank you to immigrants, thank you to leaders all over the country who are organizing for May Day, because on May Day, we are strong for workers, we are strong for immigrants, we are building the majority that will defeat Trump and build a new America. So let me say it again, courage is contagious, showing up is contagious. See you in the streets.
Thanks, Joe. Really just excited to be in this fight with you. Jeff Paquette from United Here Local 17 Hotel Workers in Minnesota.
Thanks so much, Sakab, and everyone else that's spoken before me. I'm so honored to be on this call. I think it's very exciting that so many people are engaged in the struggle. I'm here to bring you a support report from Minnesota and the Twin Cities. So a couple of weeks ago, 10 plus labor unions started organizing on a call to try and coalesce around the May Day actions. And so what we've, as the unions on the call continue to grow, we've coordinated a week of action. We're coalescing around on May Day. There's an immigrant rights march supported by the Immigrant Rights Coalition that we as working people's organizations feel it is absolutely necessary and important to support the struggle, as people across our state in Minnesota have been disappeared, and across the country people are disappeared every day. And so there's unions that are anchoring each action each day for the week around May Day, including AFSCME that is holding rallies and pickets. UFCW is in a contract fight with their grocery stores, and they're holding pickets. There's an open negotiation session for MFT, which is the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers and ESPs, that are holding public bargaining sessions as they continue to fight and are supported by SPFE, the St. Paul Federation of Educators, that are also engaged in the fight to protect our students that are in public schools. On May Day itself, along with the Immigrant Rights March that is happening in the Capitol in St. Paul, at the airport in Minneapolis, unions such as Unite Here, who represents host food service workers, SEIU, the Teamsters, AFGE, the TSA workers union, the machinists who's trying to continue to organize Delta workers, are all rallying to push against the billionaire agenda and support active worker struggles that are happening at the airport, including collective bargaining rights for Uber, Lyft drivers, the host workers that are engaged in a contract campaign and are driving towards a strike, Delta workers who are continuing to try and organize themselves. And then the week is kind of being capped off with a kickoff contract fight picket at the Hilton in Minneapolis. It's the biggest union hotel in the state. It's one of the biggest in the Midwest. It is the example of corporate greed that used the pandemic as an excuse to take back pay from workers, to make people do more work with less resources. And now, coming out after the pandemic, the profits are higher than ever, and workers are ready to take back what's ours. And so we're excited about the solidarity that we're building in Minnesota. It's rooted in action. It's rooted in making sure that that we're fighting back and that we're going to come and get what's ours. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeff. Folks in Minnesota always leading the way. Next, we will hear from João Paulo Connolly, the organizing director at Silicon Valley Rising.
Hi, Saqib and everybody. It's good to be here. I think it's already been stated by so many on this call, and it's not different down here in the south of the Bay Area. What we're witnessing is an assault on the very fabric that holds our communities together in every way, assaulting attacks on our immigrant brothers and sisters and neighbors and family and friends, attacking labor unions and union members, and attacking healthcare and other critical resources that make our communities work. And so, the attack is on all fronts. But we are excited and motivated to fight back, and there's a lot of just energy springing up all over the community right now, and so it's really powerful to witness. This May Day, every May Day here in San Jose, we have a traditional large May Day march that takes place already. And there's a route that we will be taking from the east side, from Story and King down to City Hall, which is what we traditionally do. But we also recognize that this May Day is unique. It's different, not only because we want to do something that scales like nothing we've ever done before, but also because we recognize that this is the moment for us to lift up many of the corporate tech villains, specifically the techno-fascists that are right here in our backyard in Silicon Valley, and to point out how the harm, right, the connections between these techno-fascists and these empires that they've built here in Silicon Valley, and the harms that are being perpetuated against our communities and their attempts to hijack and weaponize the federal government against our communities, and to really divide us in so many different ways, this kind of agenda of really breaking things up. So we're using this moment for political education as well, to lift up Elon Musk, Andreessen Horowitz, Peter Thiel, and a number of these techno-fascists who are engaged in this project, to educate people on the things that these folks have said very publicly that they plan to do to the government and to our communities, and to help people understand how much disdain there is for the working class and for democracy in this kind of a techno-fascist elite that we have here in Silicon Valley. So using the buildup to the action, the days before, there will be t-shirt screen printing parties and other activities, sign making, flyer making parties, and we're going to use those as opportunities to also have a conversation about the tech oligarchy. And then we are also going to think of May Day not only as a single day, but as a kind of a pivotal center of energy for a week of action, for days building up to May Day, and for a week of action after May Day, building up into an entire month really of May as a month with a number of actions. And so, we're really thinking about political education as not something that happens, only behind closed doors or on webinars, but something that can happen out in the streets in front of specific tech targets and, out in the community. So using, our marches and our moments in the street for real political education in direct action. And, for us, it is crucial right now to educate folks on the harms and on the ideology of the tech villains and the techno-fascists that are in our backyard. So, May is going to be a critical moment for us to pivot the fight increasingly in that direction, to move workers, to move folks from our communities, and to help them recognize that the fight has to be with these techno-fascist oligarchs who are here. So I'm excited to use May Day as a moment to build energy and then to keep growing it from there.
Thanks, JP, for taking on the tech fascists in their own backyard. Next, we'll hear from Rico Ocampo, the co-organizing director at Make the Road Nevada.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Rico. I am the son of Elvira Hernandez, the son of Doroteo Ocampo Martinez. I'm also undocumented, unafraid, and unashamed. I am here on behalf of several coalitions representing over 30 immigrant rights organizations, from FIRM to the Immigration Justice Situation Room. We are a coalition of immigrant rights organizations that fight for the dignity and respect of people. I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. I'm also here for Mahmoud Khalil. I'm also here for Rumeisa Osterk, the PhD students that was picked up from Tufts University. I'm also here for Gilmar Abrego Garcia. And I'm here with this message. We are in the midst of a national emergency. And like any aircraft that is in an emergency, they will signal the words Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And that is the signal that we, not only as an immigrant community, undocumented community, but our neighbors who are struggling with rent, our neighbors who are getting priced out of the housing market, our union brothers and sisters and siblings who are not being appreciated for the work that they do and being locked out of their contract. We are in the midst of a national emergency. And so we are saying Mayday, 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 because we know that billionaires scheme their way into our government. They hoard wealth, they exploit working people, and slash jobs and resources in the process. And we know that working people across the country are coming together in the face of a national crisis to declare one struggle, one fight, all workers unite. And we know that working people in this country keep this country running. And that's why on May 1st, people like me and my community who call this place home are organizing hundreds and hundreds of marches across the country to recognize the humanity of undocumented folks, immigrant folks, to recognize the humanity of those who have lived in this country, that have called this country home, but yet this country does not recognize it. I represent a coalition of immigrant rights organizations that is asking for your support. In just a moment, I'm going to drop a link for you to do just that, to provide support to immigrants in this country that are terrified, are scared to go out of their home right now because they fear they might get picked up, like the names that I just mentioned. We have a map of the marches that we have happening and the actions and protests that we are organizing that is coming live on Monday. And in this link, we are asking for folks to help us come and participate in an action. And even if you can't, sharing our information on social media is well enough as well. Thank you so much for giving me the space to be here. Thank you to our interpreters for centering language justice in this space, to the organizers for organizing this webinar. And I'll say this, because I like to end every single meeting with my community like this. Se puede, no se puede. And we yell from the top of our lungs, sí se puede. And I want to see it in the chat, se puede o no se puede. And we yell again from the top of our lungs, sí se puede. Thank you.
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede. Really, really inspiring, Rico. So next, we're going to hear from Jesse Sharkey, the former president of the Chicago Teachers Union, and Arnaldo Fabella, the director of field and organizing at the Illinois Federation of Teachers. We'll talk about how to host a powerful action.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm the Chicago Teachers Union's May 1st coordinator. And wow, that was chilling and inspiring. Si se puede. This is the part of the meeting where we try to talk people through some of the resources that are available and make a direct ask, which is that if you have been moved by what you've heard in this call, by the inspiring examples of organizing, we need you to take action. We want you to, if you're not already hosting an event and you live in a place where there's no event happening, organize something. If you live in a place where there's already an event going on, we need you to look it up on a map, click and sign on to it. And we're going to talk you through a little bit about how that works. So I'm pleased to be on with Arnaldo Fabella, who is the director of organizing for the Illinois Federation of Teachers, our statewide federation that the CTU is part of. And Arnaldo, I just want to throw a question to you, which is that let's say that I'm not in a union. You know, I mean, most workers are not in unions, and let's say that I'm inexperienced and never organized something like this before. What would you say to me? But I want to do something. What would you say to me about how we get started and why, you know, what I might do?
So I would always start off with the principle that I think all of us as organizers know, which is that there's strength in numbers. Really trying to figure out with them in their workplace, who else is interested in taking action, is concerned about the same conditions, both working and living, and want to do something about it. If enough people in your workplace want to go do something, there's nothing your boss can really do to kind of force your hand. You can force their hand. And in fact, in 2006, when there was workers all over the country taking action in the streets, we saw a lot of that in workplaces where they had to close the doors. Now, that's not always going to be possible in every single workplace because folks sometimes are not united. There hasn't been enough organizing happening. So there's other ways for folks to be able to participate and engage. If you have a time of your own, you know, you can take some off. You can send someone in your place. But these are just some of the basic ideas of how you could participate.
Great. You know, and I want to emphasize that it doesn't matter if you've never organized an event like this. There's a time to start. You know, the best time to plant the tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is today. So, what we're going to do is talk you through a little bit some of the tools that you can use to help. So, before we get into that, though, I just want to emphasize something that is important. Our intention is that the protests and actions and strikes and inspiring things that we're doing on May 1st around the country be peaceful. We are not the ones that are violent. It is the system that is violent. And we can't control whether or not right-wing provocateurs or people who are offended by our demands for justice show up and try to provoke us. All we can really control is whether or not we're provoked. And so at the beginning of this, I just wanted to be clear that our plan is to be powerful, but it is not to be violent. And we want to ask that people think deeply about that and come up with plans. And again, there's tools here, and we're going to be offering some training to talk about, our insistence that we're powerful but nonviolent. And we're going to talk a little bit more now about the message and about how we talk about this this organizing. And I'm gonna ask JJ Briscoe um, uh, if he's on to talk a little bit about the way we're messaging and talking about May Day and the May Day message publicly. JJ, you want to say a little bit about how should we be how would we be talking to people in our communities about May Day? What is May Day? What's a good way to like post about it or talk about it?
Yeah, I did have some slides. I don't want to skip anything, but I have the next one to kind of dive into that a bit. If we could go to the next slide. And thanks so much, Jesse, for everything that you have shared and having me on. And yes, my name is JJ. I am a senior organizer for Public Citizens Democracy Campaign. And if some of you are hosting, you might have gotten a call from me. There's a few of us on our team that are coordinating with the host to make sure that y'all have all of your resources. And I'm some of this kind of comes from the toolkit as well, so always great to look at that. But yeah, when we're talking about how to spread the word and the key messages we want to communicate, sounds like we've already started to hear a lot of this. But really, a key component of success for your event is a clear and direct message. As we've already mentioned, May Day is a rejection of the corruption, lawlessness, and predatory politics of the Trump-Musk administration. And so we encourage that your speakers and visuals reflect some of these messages that I have here. I know it can be very helpful to give talking points to some speakers to make sure that we are all on message. And you can see, just kind of ticking through some of these key messages. Everyone deserves good jobs, reliable services, and a fair economy. But we are communicating that Trump, Musk, and their billionaire buddies are destroying livelihoods, cutting public resources, and driving up costs just to pad their own pockets. And we can see some of y'all might have been a part of our Worth Fighting For initiative that Public Citizen was also part of right after the 11/5 election. We still want to communicate that these things that we hold precious are absolutely on the chopping block for Trump, Musk, and congressional Republicans, and they are still worth fighting for. We also really want to draw on this legacy that we have. We have a winning record against billionaires who try to corrupt our democracy, target our families, and destroy our dignity. And then, of course, we demand a new era, and we are ready to fight for it. So all of this is inside that toolkit, but it's really good. It's it's very important that we are all singing from the same songbook, and that we are a choir communicating the same message. And then going to the next slide for communication strategy, getting media attention. These are the 6 simple steps. You will also find this in your toolkit. And this is also what we're helping with, or we have capacity to help with on the public citizen side, making sure that you're building a media list. It's exactly what it sounds like, a list of reporters and media outlets in your area that you want to tell about your event. To get started, you could just list all of the local newspaper, radio, TV news stations you already know of, and then you can look on their websites for contact information, usually looking for a newsroom email or phone number, and that's often listed in a contact us menu on their website. And then introduce yourself to reporters, build these connections, give reporters a heads up about your event early on or as soon as you can. And then you can also send an advisory. This is how you officially let reporters and outlets know about your event, and that's when that media list comes in handy. And the format generally breaks down what the event is about, the date, the time, the location, and why the spokespeople are there. And I believe there might even be a template that if it's not live yet on the toolkit, it should be soon. And then step 4, of course, you want to prep your speakers. So some of those key messages that we just looked at earlier is a great way to prep your speakers. When the press attends an event, they'll likely want to speak one-on-one with some of the people there. So also make sure you identify some people who are best to talk with the media and with reporters. And you may even want to help prepare what they want to say. And just again, really the best practice is to stay close to the overall message, keep it concise, and even have a few quotes ready to go, which you can use in your press release. And then step 5, run a great event. I'm talking to a lot of the people who are hosting events across this country. It sounds like we have a lot of veterans out there, a lot of people who have already developed some of these skills, and it's really exciting to see how well prepared so many people are to conduct these events. And then that final step, send out the press release. That is a communication, usually via email, no longer than a page. That just gives reporters some basics that they need to write a story about what had happened in your event and this national campaign that we are working on together. And then just the last slide, looking more towards graphics, or this next slide, sorry. We have a Canva link. You can see this pretty easily if you go into the toolkit, but you just click on that link, create a free account, make a copy, and then in that copy that you make, you can add your local time, location, your own logos, and then that also is really effective in creating a consistent image for these events that are happening across the country.
Nice. Thank you, JJ, for running down. That was pretty comprehensive. But just for folks that didn't catch it, this is all on the how to host an event toolkit, which you can find right on the website maydaystrong.org. And if you're going to click on how to host an event, all these resources are available for you. You can go through them at your leisure. And I just want to kind of, in the little bit of time that I've got left, just try to reemphasize a few things. The website is very important for us. Not only do you see the map of our events, you see basic messaging. It's a great thing to share. We want people to become organizational partners with us. Hopefully someone can drop there's a bit.ly in the which we can put in the chat. So if you're part of an organization, we want your organization to be spreading the word. What we learned from the giant April 5th protests is that we built a lot of events, and those events grew massively, very close to the time. And in our cases, as we get close to May 1st, we expect that we're going to be picking up mass media attention, and the enthusiasm is only going to grow. So, it's a question of getting those events on the books, getting them out in our networks, and that's what allows us to grow. To that, we need partners. So, we'll get that in the chat. We're also going to do another mass webinar. That's going to be on April 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be sending out a link to that as soon as we get it up. We're also going to be running a bunch of training, including for some of the de-escalation. There are some people asking about that in the chat. So if people are interested more about learning about de-escalation, about how to keep people safe in these kind of events, we'd definitely love to have you at our next training, which is going to be on April 23rd. I'm sorry, on Monday, April 21st. My bad. We'll get that out. A link for that as well. And the last thing I'll say is that if you've got questions, you can email support@maydaystrong.org. We've got a group of people who are answering that inbox. We're going to do our best to get back to you quickly. And that is something which, so as you're grappling with as you're grappling with the things that you need to do to organize, we want to try to be as much of a resource as possible. So Arnaldo, let's go back to your person who maybe they're not in a union, they're new to this. You think those sort of things can actually help you get an event off the ground?
I think so. If you're nervous, if you're new to organizing, but you're up to do something, this toolkit is exactly what can get started. Mayday Strong is about showing up together and being part of a team. And there's been a team that's put this together. So there's information in there, not just the messaging that we just heard from JJ, but how to pick a location. There's safety protocols, and obviously information about upcoming trainings where you can learn more. So yeah, don't be discouraged if you're new, if you don't have a union. This is the time to get jump starting.
Great. Thank you guys all for being on. You can always tell it's a good movement meeting when it runs a bit over. Saqib, let me throw it back to you, and thank you, Arnaldo and JJ.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was really, really helpful. So we are, as Jesse alluded, we're running a little bit over. So we were hoping to do some Q&A in person, but instead I'm just going to I know that our folks are sort of answering the Q&As in the boxes. Two questions I want to lift up. One was, there's a lot of questions about security. Again, the security webinar is going to be a good one to go to. So can someone please drop the link for that again in the chat for the security webinar? And secondly, a second question that sort of came up a lot was why May 3rd? Why May 1st and not May 3rd, since May 3rd is a Saturday and May 1st is a Thursday. And May 1st is historically an important day globally. It's International Labor Day. It's really always been a day of action for unions across the world and for immigrant organizations in particular in the US. And so really what we're saying is we know that, like, yes, we might be able to get more people potentially on a Saturday, but what's important about this day, what's significant about it, is that this is really about us coming together in a big way to shut things down, right? And so this really is about how are we actually shutting things down, bringing the crisis directly to the doorsteps of the corporations that are actually causing the crises that we're facing. And so, yeah, I know folks asked about recordings. A recording of this is actually being live streamed to YouTube, and so our recording will be available on YouTube. We're also going to share the slides in the email afterwards. But I will, for now, just hand it over to Ramona Oliver from the National Education Association to talk about next steps and close us out.
Thank you so much, Sakib. And thank you all. Oh my God, like over an hour and you're still here. And because you're here, this is going to be a huge success. And that success is going to keep rolling. I want to make sure that I answer one question that came up in the chat. Non-union members, how can you get involved in this? You know, I work for the National Education Association, and you may have heard about this little thing called Red for Ed. And we had thousands and thousands of people out in the streets. And you know what? Arizona, they had 40,000 people out in the streets. We only have 20,000 members. So the rest of those folks were members, they were parents, they were community leaders who were there with us all the time. So you can help, you can be there and stand up. You can host all kinds of events. We do teach-ins, we do walk-ins, we do poetry slams, whatever brings people together and starts to educate them. So make sure everyone has an opportunity to be a part of this movement. And remember, you've got to get your event on the mobilized site so that people can come. We doubled in numbers from yesterday to today, more than 200 events, but we need to double it again and again. So go to Mayday Strong, click on host a meeting. If you're a host and you need help, we got a bunch of it. We already talked to the security webinar. We did turn off the chat just so that you could catch all of these key links at once. So links to the toolkit, which is in English and Spanish, links to the security webinar. I put in there the link to the comms office hours. There were some of you who asked about messaging. We have it for you right there on the 23rd. We'll have a comms office hour. We'll walk you through all the comms toolkits and the messages and answer your questions about how to help promote your event. There's editable graphics. Somebody asked for flyers. It's there in the toolkit. Just go to maydaystrong.org and you will find it. And we need more partners. Many of you work for organizations. I know my local leaders are out there. We need more people who will be hosts, who will get people together and host events. We need more of you, not just to show up for these events, but help bring people together. And I know educators do that better than anybody, but there are so many of you out there who can do it in a position to do this. So become a partner and sign up in the links that are in the chat. And again, if you wanted somebody else to be able to hear all this, April 23rd, we will be having a call for people who want to attend, people who want to host, people who want to learn more and get as inspired as we got tonight. So join us on April 23rd, and that link will be up on the website as well, maydaystrong.org. I don't think I missed anything other than to just express our really deep gratitude for all of you being here today. We're going to let you copy those links, but we're also going to turn the chat back on so you can have a final word on what your May Day is going to be for, what you'll be standing up for, and to say goodbye. Thank you all very, very much, and have a great evening.
Thanks for joining, everyone. We'll send an email with next steps. Take care and si se puede.